Tips and tricks. Today's session, the basics. Text, Part 2, with Steve Spence. Brought to you by Conde Systems. Welcome to Part 2 of Text. This is a continuation of the previous session, and we'll jump right in by looking at how CorelDRAW kerns text. Here is a word that is kerned by CorelDRAW. W-A-V-E. Notice, if you will, the spacing between the W and the A and the spacing between the A and the V is almost equal, not quite, but close. And then there is almost no space between the V and the E. Well, here's how kerning works, or text works. Each letter in the alphabet is assigned a box, and the box is the size of the letter. So not all boxes are the same size. A W and an A obviously are not going to be the same size. A and V might be the same size, but notice how the lines are opposite. Then E is fairly straightforward. And what happens is that assigned box, which is invisible, of course, to us, is bumped against the next character. And that one is then bumped against the next one. And so you end up with text that looks like this. CorelDRAW tries to kern this automatically, but it doesn't always do it very well. And so in this case, we certainly need to rekern the V. And to do that, we're going to go up to the Shape tool and click on it, then click on the text, and you'll see that there is a little square in front of every character. If we click on that square, we can now move that letter so that it is positioned properly. What is visually acceptable is generally accepted as being correct. Corel does pretty good with kerning, especially the main fonts like Times Roman and Arial. But when it gets into some of the novelty fonts, it absolutely gets lost, and it just doesn't know what to do. Let's look at another problem that we run into from time to time, and we'll use the Conde name to illustrate our point. Conde is spelled C-O-N-D-E, and you notice the accent over the E. When we type it in using an English keyboard, we don't get the accent. And so where does that come from? Well, we could draw it and put it in there as a unique object, but actually that character is available to us. Let's take our text key and we're going to highlight that E, meaning that when we tell the computer to do something, it's going to replace the E. And then we're going to go up to Text, and we're going to do Insert Symbol Character. And now we have a docker with all kinds of text that is not on our keyboard. But this is text, and it's available for every font that you have. This particular word is typed in Times Roman, and so that's what we're going to look at. And we're just going to scroll down through the fonts characters that are available until we find the E we want. We click on it, click Insert, and now we have a character that normally would not be available. This is especially helpful when we're looking for something that's unique, like a cent sign. Or you can use a registered or a trademark. Oops. get that up where we can see it. These are all available, a copyright symbol, and many, many more, as you can see. Okay, so that's how we get unique characters into our text. Let's go over here and let's look at something else. By the way, just as an interesting note, I looked up the word kanji to see where it came from. And here's what I learned. It was taken from the name of a historical house, a noble lineage of descent from a single ancestor. I always thought it took two ancestors, but anyway, from a single ancestor. And the house was called the Prince of Kanji. Another definition said that it was named after the Great Kanji, who was a French general who won all kinds of victories in the 30 Years' War. Well, whichever it really is, kanji is a French word, and Kanji Systems is located in Mobile, Alabama, down where the French were very common in generations past. The reason I looked that up was not just to impress you with the meaning of kanji, but rather to show you a different type of text. The text we normally are using, and what we've been using all through this session and the previous session, is called artistic text. Nothing unusual about it, it's pretty much what you would expect, but this text, which is surrounded by a dotted line, is called paragraph text. Now, we can change this back and forth from artistic to paragraph and back again, but I wanted you to see why we use paragraph text. I'm going to slip up here and just draw an imaginary box using the text tool, not the box tool, but the text tool, and I'm going to draw an imaginary box. And I've already saved that text to my clipboard, so I'm going to go up here and just tell it to paste. And there it has plugged in all that text. Now watch what happens with the text. When I change the length of it, it follows the shape that I create using these tabs. And of course I can change the font size. Oops, I'm not sure that did anything. Let's take it up to where you can see it. There we go. And I can change it back again. And you can see that that gives me incredible control over the text. Now, that doesn't help us much if we're doing things like making plaques or creating giftware. But if we're doing something that has a lot of text in it, this is a great way to import text. If a customer brings you text in Word for Windows, for instance, this is a great way to import it. And it allows you to work with it, and then once you get things the way you want it, you can go to text and convert to artistic text. Now it's the same as the text that we've been using. We can make it larger, smaller, we can change the font, we can change the size of the text, we can do all those kinds of things, but we no longer have that box, and when we go to stretch or change the text body, it's going to change just like artistic text is, simply because it is artistic text. So, there are two types of text, artistic and paragraph, and paragraph is used for large bodies of text most often, and artistic is used primarily for the type of work that we do. Okay, let's look at curves. Text is text. We've already talked about that. Text is unique. It is not an object. It is not a bitmap. It is text. But sometimes we need to change that. Here we have the word curves. Now what's unique about this is it is a font that may not be on all computers. or it could be a font that you might load temporarily on your computer and then remove it. What happens when you open the job that has those kinds of fonts in them is that the computer can't find the font and it substitutes something else, which means your entire design has changed. So in order to ensure that we will always have that exact text in our job, no matter what computer we open it up on, we can take that text, and this is text, just regular text, and we can go to Arrange, Convert to Curves. Now this text is still manageable in every way that text is. It can be stretched, it can be reversed, it can be enlarged or reduced. All of those things still work the same. What does not work is the ability to edit the text, because this text is no longer text. It is now artwork, just like clip art. Highly recommended for jobs for logos and things like that that have unusual fonts that you may not always have on your computer. Now let's take one more thing, and this is typing white text. We do this a lot in Sublimation. We put white text over colored backgrounds or over backgrounds that are bitmaps and so on. Working with white text is unique. It's done a lot in Sublimation, and there's a pitfall in it. And the pitfall is we can't print white. What we really do is we create a character that has the absence of dye. That is, when it's being sublimated, the blue transfers. It just doesn't have anything in the white. And what often happens is, especially if you press it a little bit too long or a little bit too much pressure, the white will begin to close in, and it won't be as sharp and distinct as you see it here. To help deal with that, just go over and put an outline around the white, and you can even increase it a little bit. Not too much, don't need to do it too much necessarily, but just a little bit of outline around that text. That way, when the blue encroaches in on the white text, where there is no dye to hold its place, the encroachment will take it back to the original size. This is especially true when you're working with text that has small serifs or has very fine lines like script, something that is delicate. These are very easy to have encroached by the surrounding colors and just almost disappear from the finished product. So putting an outline on it helps take care of that. Now we want to look at one more thing, and that is creation of multiple text in a single job, or a plaque. Here we have an outline of a plaque, and in the center we've created the text. We'll not do color and backgrounds and all that kind of thing, because all we're interested in right now is the text. And here's my recommendation to you. As you create your text for the plaque, create it in sections. Let's ungroup this, and now you can see that 2014, along with these two lines, is one set of text. Supplier of Excellence Award is one set of text. Presented to is one set of text. Fisherman Corporation, one set of text. The body of the plaque, one set of text. Who's presenting it, one set of text. And the logo. Now, the reason we do that is because if we do it all in one piece of text, we can't control the spacing between the various elements of the plaque. Doing it this way, we can take each element and position it so that it looks the best. Extra space between the lines of a plaque. We can move it down, up. We can even change it and put it over to the side. We can do all kinds of different things with the individual elements of the plaque that if it were done in one stream of text, we would not be able to do. So, when doing large bodies of text, think in terms of elements, one section at a time, and then put them together. And you say, well, how would I ever get those straightened in line with each other? Well, there are several ways to do it, but the easiest way is just to select everything. Go to Arrange, Align and Distribute. It gives us a docker, and we tell it we want everything in the center. One click, and everything moves to center. That concludes part 2 of our look at text, but we'll be back. This is only the beginning. Until then, good luck.